Well, at this point, we're ready to bring on our first guest on the show, Senator Adeseye Ogunlewe, who represented Lagos East Senatorial District in the National Assembly between 1999 and 2003. A former Minister of Works under the Obasanjo administration, a retired permanent secretary in Lagos State, and currently a top-ranking member of the All Progressives Congress. Good morning, Senator, and compliments of the season to you.
My pleasure.
Thank you,
to
sir.
be with you, Andy. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. Good to have you in the studio. Well, let's start this way. You know the position of Professor Wole Soyinka.
Yes.
He says he will not say anything at this time, that he will not criticize the president until after 1 year. But like Adeseye and I were discussing the other time, it shouldn't be about criticism. It should be about assessment. And Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu with his team, and of course all the other governors, have spent, precisely 7 months since they were inaugurated on May the 29th. What are your initial thoughts? What's your assessment? Professor Wole Soyinka says that he didn't think that Asiwaju should run. But then he has emerged as president. He has spent 7 months. What are your initial assessment of his first steps?
Thank you very much. Good morning, viewers. I've had the unique opportunity of serving at the local government level, at the state level, and at the national level. And I could see that leadership is what is lacking in our structure of governance. And I believe a person of the caliber of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, which we all know, has a unique capacity to identify problems and the courage to solve them. There is nothing he has done in the last 9 months that Nigerians have not spoken about severally. So all subsidy is not a new thing, but who has the courage to remove it? He had the courage and he has done so. Parallel market in the foreign exchange.
Yes.
Everybody in the world believe this must be done. All the other presidents knew that it should be done, but they didn't have the courage. That is what Bola Tinubu is known for. He will do whatever he believes is right for the country. People may not like it, yes, but he has the focus and the belief that at the end of the day, it will be okay. The only one lingering is the subsidy on electricity, which is not sustainable. But President Buhari has been able to assist by removing transmission from exclusive list to the concurrent list. So it is now responsibility of each state to regulate electricity payment. What should be paid at each state level, not uniform. That is the only one that remains. Once it's able to address that and shift the responsibility to the states, like Lagos State, no matter the amount of money you want the consumers to pay, they are ready to pay. It's not the same in Borno. It's not the same in Niger. It's not the same in whatever state. So it is not his responsibility. The thing has been deregulated. That is the only one that remains to be tackled. And it must be tackled at the state level. Lagos State, for instance, the economy of the state is enough to sustain independent power producer. They will pay. They have the capacity to pay. So that we can have, sectoral development. We don't have to develop at the same, level all over Nigeria. It's not possible. Let the state now develop independently and contribute to national growth. So, for me, no matter how painful it will be now, that is the right thing to do. And that is what Nigerians have been talking about for several years. It's not new. But who has the courage to do it? And that is Bola Tinubu for you. That doesn't mean it's all well immediately. The consequences are there. It's for him now to address it. And my own view is that most of these issues are not necessarily federal government responsibility. We have to deregulate. We have to make sure we devolve more powers to the state and local government so that federal government can be free to regulate. Federal government is a regulatory authority. But to my mind, yes, they are doing more than the federal government should do. State and local government should do more for the people. And that is where what he should do now, what he has been fighting for all his life, which you all know too,
yes,
is
they prepared for it for 30 years.
Yes, that we must not have a very powerful federal government.
So
we must allow state and local government to perform more than what the federal government will perform. And I think he will do it.
So, you know, in judging the president's time in office and the first moves he's made, I think one of the things that we'll highlight is the team, the ministers he's chosen. You've been a minister yourself before. And let's even talk about, you know, power with Minister Adeseye. If we're talking about how we judge the president's achievements, we also must judge it by the achievements of the ministers that he has put in office. We must look at the budgets, you know, the proposed budgets that they've put forward in the Renew Hope budget for next year. Are there any ministers that you think are shining lights? Do you approve? Are there any ministers you feel are dropping the ball? You know, considering we've seen some of their performances, we've seen some of the things that they're budgeting for, what they're focusing on in their first years in office as well. Were you happy when you saw the ministerial list, and have you been happy by the performance so far?
This is a personal experience. It is not the responsibility of ministers to dictate the policy of government or the civil servants. If you surrender your powers to the civil servant, which they have done now, you are not going to get anywhere.
Oh, the ministers?
Yes. The ministers were not elected. The ministers have no mandate of the people. We don't know them. They are at the pleasure of Mr. President. So for us to assess them, it is the president which will assess, because he appointed them. They don't have any responsibility to us, Nigerians. They are not working for us. They are working for Mr. President. So the president should not allow them to formulate policy for the party. They're going to derail us because they'll be so much influenced by the civil servants. I've been there before. Civil servants are too powerful at the federal level.
But you were a permanent secretary?
Yes, at Lagos State level.
Yes.
I was a permanent secretary. Our powers were limited. At the federal level, they are the chief executive of the ministry.
That's true.
And they have far more responsibility than the honorable minister. And they have been around. All the directors, they owe allegiance to him, not to the minister. The minister come and go. So it is for the president now to determine what the ministers must do, not the minister to determine what the president must do. That is the problem I have. Who is the owner of the budget? Is it the civil servants? They are cleverers. They have been there for long. They know how to manage and prepare a budget. I was a different person because I was a permanent secretary.
Yeah.
I know about budgeting. So they couldn't do anything for me. I am far ahead of all of them as a permanent secretary from Lagos State. But if you have not been in government before and you are made a minister, it's a problem. And you have the National Assembly to cope with. I was lucky too. I was a senator. So getting through the National Assembly was easy. But if you are an outsider, believe it or not, you can be completely frustrated by the National Assembly.
But there are a number of fresh faces in Ashwaju's cabinet. And I think that has to do with the yearnings of the people, that we don't want the old guards. We don't want the same old people. Give us fresh faces all across the board. And there are plenty there.
Fantastic. But how are they going to cope with the civil servants and members of the National Assembly? That is a different kettle of fish. you must be reasonable. Particularly where you are a young person. You are going before the senators who are your fathers. How do you talk to them? You are not their boss. You must relate with them as if you are begging, you are appealing, so that you can get your way through. But if you are a little bit arrogant, they will look at you as you are learning. And you learn for 2 years, and you will never be able to achieve anything. The National Assembly, in terms of budgeting, they are too powerful. And the president has a role to play in moderating, in talking to them. Don't leave them alone.
But in spite of all this, have you noticed, just like Adeseye has said, any shining light among the 48 or thereabouts?
No, the Minister of Interior is clear. He knows. Yes. He's been able to perform credibly. When you perform well as a minister,
it becomes obvious.
It is obvious because it is the people you are serving. And it is to the credit of Mr. President for picking somebody like that. Which other one? It takes time because there is even no budget.
You can't recall another name, obviously.
No, they are settling down.
You don't want to be unfair.
You settle down. But it is a difficult task. Very, very. You have to contend with your civil servants. They are just like your father. You say, bring young people, fine. But the person who is a permanent secretary is like his father. So how does he talk to that person? You say, how old are you? When did you leave university? I left in 1970. And you are not born then. So it depends on your own training, your background. Don't let the position get into your head at all.
So
look at them as your parents to assist you. They will assist you. But if you are slightly arrogant, they are happy.
If you are coming with the corporate sector experience.
Yes, they will be happy to deal with you. Very easy for them.
Can I ask if you feel that that's what happened with the Minister of Works early in his term when he was locked out of his office by the civil servants?
You have to learn the ropes.
You were in that office too.
I was their friend. I was a permanent secretary. I was a staff. I grew up as a civil servant. So, and I know your tendency. So, there is no difference between me and them. And you have to come back to their level. Because they've been there for 30 years. They have more knowledge than you. You have to listen to them.
All right, distinguished Senator, let me come back to the one of the key areas of assessment of the Tinubu 7 months in office that you mentioned. You said that states, we shouldn't have an almighty center, that states should be powerful. How, therefore, will you relate that to the way that the president, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has conducted himself as far as the Ondo state politics is concerned, and of course the River state politics? Of course, that there were little talks for the Ondo thing. I mean, Akiti is gone now, God bless his soul, but we saw how things panned out, that all of them had to go to Abuja to meet Mr. President to help resolve the problem, and the little talks about asking Aida Atiwa, who is now the governor, to sign a pre-resignation letter. We have seen what happens with River State, where all of them were summoned, and then it was said that a list of demands was handed over to the governor, and it was requested to sign. Will you say that that's an indication of a president who wants the states to be powerful and the governors to be as independent as he was when he was in Lagos State fighting Obasanjo?
You are now seeing the skill of a politician in Bola Tinubu. We have never had the opportunity of having a president who is a nationalist as well as a politician. None. So Bola Tinubu is a politician. Anything that can give advantage to APC, he will grab it. And he will make sure that APC is predominant. It is up to you to accept. But don't give him the opportunity to outsmart you. He's an extremely smart politician. Very smart.
So
If you believe you are going to him so that you can trick him or get, he is ready for you. And when he now gives you, you are at his mercy. Don't be at his mercy. If you are at his mercy, he will deal with you. So maintain your status as a state governor and perform well. Because once you are in a position, his own skill is to take over that state from you in the next election. He's already planning how to win the place. That is the politician in him. He's a skillful politician. Don't give him the opportunity. Stay in if you are in opposition, PDP, LP, stay in your state and work hard. If you make mistake and believe that he's going to support your party, you are making a mistake. His own is that state, we should win it. And he will win it if you allow him. So we have to separate Bola Tinubu we are dealing with as a skillful politician and a skillful statesman.
So if Fubara, sorry, Adeseye, just one second. If Fubara should, in his own interest, be like a Bola Tinubu of Lagos State.
Yes.
When he was, fighting Obasanjo.
Yes, extremely skillful. He will fight on principle. And in the night, he will go and explain, Baba, that is not the way. Bye. Okay. Emma Benisa. He doesn't fight without thinking. He fights in the day and he thinks how to moderate it in the evening. He will outsmart you. I said so when they said he would not be president. I said, this man, I've known him for several years. For you to be near him in terms of skill, in terms of planning, you will not sleep. Because he doesn't sleep. He plans everything. Everything he says, he doesn't come. You serve under him. I know what I'm talking about. He's a skillful person. He's a thinker. All the night he's thinking. He's thinking, what am I going to do? How am I going to get this result? How am I going to go do? Nothing takes him by surprise. He would have prepared for it. So when you are bringing your problem to him, don't think that he doesn't know you. He has already prepared what to say. If you make a mistake, you face the music. He would outsmart you. Very skillful.
Well, I want to follow up on that because are we saying that the president, as the executive, chief executive right now, is not wading into these issues that are affecting people's lives or livelihoods or have insecurity implications for presidential reasons, but for political reasons as the leader of the APC?
If you are a leader of PDP, behave properly as leader of PDP. He is a leader of APC.
But he's also the president, and Sim Fubara is an elected
the presidency has a tenure. Another 4 years is going for another election. So he's not going to be planning. You are wrong, you are talking to the wrong person.
I'm interested in that because Asiwaju became president in spite of the fact that the majority of the voters didn't vote for him. More people voted for PDP and Labour. PDP, Labour, and NNPP won far more states than him. But yet, just like you said, the strategist in him still gave him the presidency. One of the key things that people say is that it is unlikely that anybody will become the president of Nigeria if he doesn't win 2 of the 3 key states, Rivers, Kano, and Lagos. Asiwaju lost 2 and managed. A lot of people will say that maybe he didn't win Rivers, but at least maybe that was the role that Wike played. Do you think that the politics for 2027 has already started by what we are seeing in Rivers, by the tribunal and the court, the direction of the court judgment in Kano, and then when Lagos is still open, we don't know what. Although I would have loved to ask you, because there was a time that you mentioned that if you do not handle the non-Yoruba cause, namely the Igbo cause, carefully in Lagos, it might come to haunt the APC. Was that what happened? earlier this year?
You know, politics is so complex and you need the skill to win an election. And Bola Tinubu has it. Right? If you said, okay, what was prevalent at that time against him was the Muslim ticket.
Yes.
And the answers.
Yes.
Youths did not buy into, you know, APC's program enough. Then the non-Muslim, the Christians, did not feel happy that it was for the first time a Muslim minister. But, you know, as a planner, he sat down to say, okay, where would this problem affect me more? He identified them. Okay, where do I have a preferred opportunity to win marginally? Not them. And the tendency to divide the opposition. He has the skill. He will never allow the opposition to be united so that he can gain that margin. And the opposition, they are playing this game. So once you play this game, the man is happy. So you also must sit down and match him. If you think that it doesn't matter, at the end of the day, you will lose. So no matter, he knew that PDP and Labour will have this volume of votes. But it's better they have it separately so that he can win. And it will still happen.
It will still happen.
Yes. No matter what you do, he will outsmart you. He's a skillful person. You think you have an advantage. No. You may not have it. Because all these people are also close to him.
You are saying that if the PDP as it is now and Labour Party, somehow Peter Obi factor, Kwakwanso, and Atiku, or whoever Atiku endorses, you are saying that the possibility of them coming together as a united front to confront Asiwaju in 2026, 2027 will not happen.
Okay, who will now be the front runner? You know, you need a general in the front of the battle against him.
Okay.
Who do you think have the skill to outsmart him? So the three of them now, okay, can they unite? Can they be one? Do you think he will sit down and allow them, like a Jonathan person, to allow the opposition to have an advantage over you? You are not a politician. If you're a politician, you have to be skillful. You have to know how to outsmart the opposition. You know that if the opposition gather together, they will defeat you. And you allow them to be together. No. You know, so, okay, how do I defeat them?
Yeah.
They are not going to sit down. That is not a person you underrate in this game.
We've spoken about him a lot as an effective politician, you know, and being able to outsmart the opposition. We've had conversations happening around the country, people saying that the opposition is very weak. And if the opposition is weak, our democracy itself is weak, because we do not want a center or an executive, a president that is too strong. But I want to ask also, apart from this effectiveness that he has shown as a politician in the dealings, in the last 7 months, what has he done in terms of insecurity in the country that will let us say that this is our chief security officer, this is the person who's keeping Nigerians safe?
It's a person who is meticulous. It takes his time to settle down and solve problem. This problem of insecurity you are witnessing, give Bola Tinubu another 6 months. It will be a thing of the past.
You think so?
I think so. Because he has been part of it. He knows all these things before. But his body language doesn't look as if there are no difficulties. There are no pressures that, if you do that, there'll be a problem. Okay, let me take my time. Let me see how I'm going to work. He knows Mopol very well. He has worked with them. He knows under the Constitution, internal security is for the police, not the military. He has worked with the military. Maybe the MOPOL will be resuscitated and strengthened. Military and police, they are Nigerians. The only difference is in training and equipment. So if you reverse it, allow the soldier to go back to the barracks and fund the police, more policemen, more training, better equipment. Because that is their constitutional responsibility. And he knows it. And they cannot both be in battle.
At the same time.
At the same time. The military will kill them to their own advantage.
We're running out of time, sir, but let me quickly ask you, I like the area of security, but I'm also interested in another area that would be of interest to you, given that you are a Minister of Works. Just very briefly. Buhari was at least celebrated for his interventions in the areas of infrastructure. What are your thoughts as to the choice of the Works Minister and the steps that they have taken so far, given the fact that with almost 700 billion naira budget, a good chunk of our capital expenditure will go to that ministry? What priorities do you think that they should set? Works ministry?
It is the president that should take responsibility. One, we have 33,000 kilometers of roads existing.
Yes.
The tendency for the National Assembly is to want to build new roads and abandon the 33,000 that is existing. That was why we created FEMA. Yes. So that there can be maintenance. More money should go to maintenance of the 33,000 kilometers. But once you neglect that maintenance and you concentrate on construction, that's the problem.
Is that what has happened to,
yes.
to Third Mainland Bridge, for example?
It's maintenance.
Yeah.
Yes.
Spend more money on maintenance.
Yeah.
And there is ICPC, independent, that is, you can concession all this maintenance.
Yeah.
You can give it to private sector. All over the world, government does not have the capacity to construct new roads and to maintain the existing ones. Choose your priority. If you want the private sector to maintain the existing 33,000 kilometers, give it to them, told them. They will recoup their money and maintain. At least you have enough to move goods and services through the federation with the 33,000 kilometers.
Yeah, but we have National Assembly lawmakers who want the shiny new things.
Yes, they want to build
they want to commission it.
In their villages.
Constituency
projects.
They want to have constituency project, constituency roads, neglecting the major roads that they met on ground.
And they're the people who are going to pass the budget. So,
exactly.
So we see where the problem lies.
It's persuasion. The president should tell them, this 33,000 kilometers of road, yes. I want them to be in perfect position first.
Thank you so much.
Nigerians will be happy.
Thank
will
you so
you be
much,
willing
sir.
to serve in any capacity?
No. I don't say there are so many other capacities you can serve.
Yes.
Advisory role, intervention,
yes.
talking,
yes.
because of your experience.
That's right.
You have to make it available to whoever wants to listen. But it's difficult when your constituency is saying, we want a new road, and we neglect the existing one. It's a big problem. And you have to at least get out of that and say, maintain existing one.
Yeah.
Nigeria will be okay. Don't build new ones. Because at the expense of the old ones, how do you cope? Because Nigeria is not a rich country. The money is not available. Spend the little money to maintain existing road, maintain existing infrastructure, and there'll be hope for Nigeria.
All right, Senator Adeseye Ogunlewe, we want to thank you so very much for your time with us this morning. It's been very
Thank you for having me.